Welcome to another episode, Dr. James Beckett Sports Card Insights. I've entitled this episode, Responding to COVID-19, the coronavirus. Our world is changing, or maybe has changed, but there's still collecting, there's still families, life goes on. It may go on differently. I wanted to give a little bit of a positive episode. First, let me thank our sponsors before I get going and forget. But thank you, Topps, Panini and Upper Deck, Heritage Auctions, Huggins & Scott Auctions, Mike Stadium Sports Cards, Burbank Sports Cards, ComC.com, and Beckett Media, Beckett Grading, Beckett Authentication. Again, all of those entities, life goes on, but life goes on differently. They're all, well, everybody in America and around the world is affected by this. So I hope you're taking necessary precautions, but I want to talk about, I want to kind of slide into some sports card insights. But first of all, are there any silver linings? It's pretty grim. The news every day is worse and worse, but it's like having it's like unpaid vacation for some people, but it's not. But you don't know how long it's going to be. If it was a week, that wouldn't sound so bad. But I'm really addressing this mostly to people that have card collecting as a side gig. If you're full time in the industry, then you're dealing with that in a different way. But if you have another job, if you're a teacher, I hope you don't work in the restaurant industry or the hospitality. Those are very challenging situations. Work for airlines. Again, that's circumstances beyond the control of the executives running those companies. When demand is cut off, it's extremely difficult. On the other hand, people are at home. I hope you're enjoying time at home with your family. Since you can't go to restaurants, I hope you're enjoying cooking or having things delivered. Again, this will be a game changer for people, how they eat, how they spend time. Know that people are going to all of a sudden start reading or listening to podcasts more. But again, probably there's a situation where if you're working for a company, we're back in the driver's seat, running Beckett Publications as I was 15, 20, 25 years ago. I'd have to put a challenge out to the employees. How can we add value? How can we produce when you're not in the office? We were pretty lenient about having work at home situations, but that frankly didn't work at all for certain kinds of jobs or certain kinds of people. Some people just can really thrive in that, and others don't. I'm obviously missing sports, but I will say this: it's proven to me that I don't love sports so much that I'm willing to watch reruns of games that I've seen before. So I'm not spending all my time doing a podcast, but I'm doing stuff with my collection, organizing my stuff. So I hope you're enjoying that, the increased time to do things that perhaps you put off. Hopefully the lesson for all of us will be to be better prepared for any other situation that might come up. I hope you realize that social distancing is not the same as social disconnection. Hopefully the social distancing that you're doing is a physical issue, and you're taking extra steps to not be socially disconnected, that you be connected socially. And again, every business that's going through this is going to now have a creative contingency plan for how to run their business if most, if employees are largely not able to be present. I won't say, again, collectors are my tribe, and we're basically fortunate to have a wholesome pastime that can be financially rewarding. If you're purely a collector and never sell, I know I did an episode about that, whether you're more of a collector or more of an investor. But I'll tell you what, if you have people always joked with you can't buy groceries with cards. Well, no, you can't, but you can sell cards and use the money to buy groceries or pay your utility bills or whatever is pressing. Credit cards, in a pinch, but credit cards can really escalate with the interest rate. So again, collectors perhaps better off than others who aren't, because they have stuff. They have stuff that has value, and they have stuff that could be sold. If you're, again, this is the real test of whether you're a pure collector. If this prolongs, you're going to really need to consider selling. So in most cases, selling slow is the way to optimize the price you get. Certainly that's true in a flat market. In an up market, it's obvious. It's very much true that selling slow is the right thing. But if you're in a bear market, if the market turns, then selling faster would be better, because if the price is going to go down. But either way, I think you know what I mean by parsing, or, kind of putting your collection into groups. Obviously, the smallest parse would be one item, and that's if you have a collection that has mainly glamour cards, then selling cards one at a time is the best. It's the way you optimize what you're going to get. On the other hand, you can't sell cards one at a time if they're not with sufficient demand. Doesn't matter what the supply is. If the demand is not there, then you're probably going to have to put together a group. I have one of my sports card insights here. One of my rules is that all groups, when you buy a group of cards, you would expect to get a discount. That the age-old discussion among veteran collectors is, why would there be a discount on selling a complete set as opposed to the sum of the cards? It's not always true, but it's frequently true. Even though the difficulty in putting together a set, some of the older sets, there ought to be a premium, but typically there's not. So if groups sell at a discount, that's not news to most of you, but I want to have a corollary to that basically the less cohesive the group, the bigger the discount. If you put together a group that seems to make sense, it's all of one player, all of one set, all of one company, all of one team, and there's some cohesion in the group, it's less of a discount than if you have a multi-sport, unsorted lot of cards. People are going to more heavily you're going to need to more heavily discount that if you want to move it. Lastly, if as this goes along, and again, even though you consider yourself a collector, if you're going to have to sell and you're selling, there may be exceptions to this where you would sell something that's very precious and difficult to replace. If that's frequently that's your most expensive item. Well, if that's the case, and you're saving that for last, you may have a difficult decision to make. Not so much for the value, but if you're selling a one of one and you sell it to somebody else that's a one of one collector, it's most likely not going to be available again. On the other hand, it's just cardboard. Family is more important. Health is more important. I obviously know that from my heart attack, but that was a long time ago. Don't think I'd gotten complacent, but makes you realize that when this virus is not a respecter of perhaps even good health, much less wealth or any other consideration that you have. So take care of yourself. Again, social distancing without social disconnection. Enjoy the hobby. Again, we are very blessed to have a pastime that we can enjoy and fill up time in a wholesome way. But be thinking about how, and if you would not want to sell your cards, but if you needed to, start figuring out what your strategy would be. And as I said, my strategy, not necessarily to raise money, it's not in response to this, but I'm gradually a seller of some of the extra cards I have, and I sell them slow, and I'm not going to speed it up for this, but I'm sad because this is a really difficult situation, especially for some of my friends. So, and y'all are my friends because you're collectors. So, listeners, hang in there. It may get worse before it gets better, but, my thoughts and prayers are for y'all, for the nation and for the world. We've got a difficult situation. And, again, let's be wise about our response. So thanks, collectors. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Hopefully have a better tone of an episode with positivity.